Hey, this is William Baxter here for the William Baxter Experience, and this is that review show. If you're wondering what the hell I'm doing, I'm on top of the roof of my house, and you can hear that it's pretty windy and windy day. It's actually a very beautiful and nice weather day. Friday night I went to go see Robert Zemeckis' new film, The Walk. Robert Zemeckis, you all know, directed such Oscar-winning director, directed such great movies like Forrest Gump. Also, he did the Back to the Future trilogy, which will be celebrating its the 30th anniversary this week. So be sure to check out our retro review show on the Back to the Future trilogy on the 21st. But I was originally going to see The Martian, but for some reason I just felt compelled to go see The Walk, mostly because I just recently watched on Netflix the documentary Man on Wire, which was exactly the exact same, almost exact same story. Of course, you know, in the theatrical versions, you know, they dramatize a little bit here and there. But it's starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as and Ben Kingsley. Levitt portrays French acrobat, tightrope walker Philippe Pidet. I hope I got that right. The only man to walk across the Twin Towers back in 74, 75, I believe it's 74. He got a tightrope and had it stretched across the North Tower to the South Tower, the World Trade Center towers. And of course it was illegal, didn't get any permits, and which makes him a rebel. And he walked across it, and he did 8 crosses along those towers. And I tell you what, I remember just looking at those towers just from a picture standpoint and everything, because I've never unfortunately visited New York. You know, just the size of them alone was pretty intimidating. But the film pretty much, you know, it explains, you know, how he became obsessed with tightrope walking. As a little boy, he snuck into a little circus tent and everything, and saw, you know, some people doing tightrope walking, and he became obsessed with it his whole life. It was a passion, and anything he walk around with this little string and everything, and if he saw two items, you know, two structures and everything, whether it be, you know, 5 feet off the ground, 20 feet off the ground, he'd measure it, and he'd want to use his wire to walk across it, just for the sheer enjoyment of it. And I had to say, Zemeckis, you know, he really did a really great job. This was, I think, when it came to style, his best work. And one thing about Robert Zemeckis' style is that you don't know you're watching a Robert Zemeckis film. There is no distinction between Robert Zemeckis films or anything like that and everything. They're all different. With the exception of the Back to the Future trilogy, you know, they're pretty much close to the same style. But a lot of his other films are so different in so many ways, and it's that's good. That's a good mark for a director and everything, that he can, you know, hide his movies in the different styles and techniques and still be his movie. So, but the use of color in the film, you know, it seemed like a pasty type of color in some parts, and it really captured the essence of the early 1970s, and especially when you're in Paris and everything, watching Philippe do his shtick and how he found out about the towers and everything. He you know, every song that was popular around that year or that era was being sung in French. So, which was, I'm sure, took a while and everything for him to really translate the song in the English versions into the French version, if they hadn't recorded them before. But I'd have to say, it was really a lot of great detail work too. And they had Levitt break the fourth wall as the character and everything. You know, at the beginning of the film, he's standing on top of the Statue of Liberty, looking off to the Twin Towers, and you know, talking about his love affair about those two towers, and that's pretty much how it was. I mean, he saw when he found out about these towers being built in a magazine when he was sitting in a dentist office, and he realized I have to walk across these towers, and he made it his obsession, his lifelong obsession. This was going to be his greatest feat ever. And you start to become aware that, you know, even though he has a girlfriend in the movie who he falls in love with and everything, and he lures her into his world, which is another thing Philippe seemed to be really good at. He inspired people, and they want to be part of his life and everything, instead of, you know, him becoming part of their life. You know, he lures them in and makes them become part of his entourage and his world, as they help him accomplish his goal. And that was you know, that takes a lot of charisma and personality and strive, and it kind of reminds me how my brother and I were able to do the same thing when it came to our movies. We brought people into our world. We wanted to share our world with them, and if we got lucky enough, it would vice versa and everything. They would share their world with us. So, but at this point, it becomes, you know, as I said, more than just a daredevil stunt, and it becomes a man and two movies, two buildings, and his love affair. That's his mistress, of those two towers. And the film, and the towers are the true star of the film too. It is the true star. I mean, it reminds you about those towers and how wonderful those towers were. I mean, because at first people really didn't like those towers in New York. They were very annoyed by them because they were like in the way. They blocked the sunlight here and there, but you know, because of Philippe's moment of glory, people, you know, now looked up and, you know, didn't just see, you know, a man on a wire. They saw those towers. And not to give away too many spoilers and everything, but, you know, people, and one New York cop, you know, told him, you know, what you did out there took a lot of guts and good work. And I mean, I'm not going to give away too many spoilers. I want people to see this movie and see, you know, what happens to him and everything. I mean, it's rather comical of how, you know, when it comes down to the authority part and everything at the end, how they, you know, get him, you know, teach him a lesson in a way. But the film runs about 2.5 hours. As I said, there's some parts that are a little slow, but that's what you get when you want to go for a movie that's got great 3D details. And also, I really wish I had gotten to see this movie in IMAX. The scope of this, when he is on that wire, walking across between the two towers, you feel it. Even through 2D, you feel the depth and the, you know, how the feeling you get when you get up on top, the very top of a tower. Like, I'm looking down at my roof and everything, and you know, it's a decent drop. I mean, I'm sure I can bust my butt pretty good, but it, you know, just imagine seeing this in IMAX 3D and everything. Man, I mean, it really captures, for those who have been on top of the World Trade Center observation deck many years ago, who got that privilege and everything, to see the New York skyline, see New York, you know, in the most vulnerable spot in the world, you know, from up and above, to see just how small the world can really be when you're high up in the air. It helps those who unfortunately will never ever have that experience in their life. You know, it gives you that experience and that sense of feel, and I'm really thankful for that, for director Robert Zemeckis for doing that and everything. It said the payoff. It's a long film, but the payoff at the end worth it. I mean, absolutely worth it. It's just that good of a movie. I was very moved by this movie. It teaches you, at the end and everything, it basically teaches you, be happy while it's there, because when it's gone, and you never can get it back. And that's, of course, about a decade later, a decade and a half later and everything, that's what, unfortunately, I think this country's lost when it comes down to it and everything, lost that sensibility of, never forget, and we need to get that back in this world. But I do have to say just the way it, the whole setup and how these guys were able to sneak on top of the towers and everything and get this wire across and everything. They learned how to use a bow and arrow, and they basically use stuff to shoot it across with the bow and arrow and everything. That takes a lot of talent to shoot across 2 large buildings and everything, when it comes to weather patterns and stuff like that. Again, I highly recommend this movie. It does have its flaws, but again, the climax of the film pays off the whole film and everything. It's so worth it. Again, if you get a chance to see this movie in IMAX 3D, do it. I mean, as I said, I didn't get to see it in IMAX 3D, but I got that feel still of depth and scope and everything, being, when he's on top of the wire. And, just you feel the rush. And, Levitt, I said, did a very good job playing this character and playing this man's life. I mean, past a little bit of a French accent. Other than that, he captured the man's essence and spirit and charisma. And just him walking across that wire, especially when the Port Authority was coming around, trying to, grab him to get him off there and everything. And he was, kind of teasing those guys, which, was very entertaining. I said, please, I highly recommend this movie. It, again, the guy walked across that rope for 45 minutes, did 8 crosses. I also, on Netflix, recommend, the documentary Man on Wire, which is the same premise and everything, about Philippe Pellet. As I said, just it gave the people, again, a Frenchman gave New York a great gift. And even though those towers were pre-planned and they were being built in the middle of the city, and he gave them the Twin Towers. I mean, people started looking up and seeing those towers after he did his walk across, and people remembered that walk across the towers and everything. He was almost like he was walking on air. But again, I give the walk, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and also I'm going to say Ben Kingsley, who co-stars in this movie, did a really outstanding performance, a really funny character. As I said, check him out. I give it a 10. I give it a full 10. I mean, I was really entertained by this movie, really moved and touched by this film. This is probably my first 10 I've given throughout the whole any of my movie reviews. So, but again, 10 out of 10. See The Walk. I believe it goes into full nationwide release this week. And again, I think at least it'd be an Oscar consideration, and I hope it does, because it's very well done. And again, I'm William Baxter for the William Baxter Experience. Don't forget, October 21st, we will be doing our Back to the Future retro review show, and the Halloween retro review shows later this week. And I will see you anytime, anywhere.